Morning, everyone. Welcome to our daily word. Today's Friday, December 10th of the year 2021. Glad you could join me for a few minutes together today. We have, of course, reached the end of another week, and so we are ready for the weekend and all that that brings and to share our lives together. Hope you'll join us for worship on Sunday morning. We'll gather, of course, at 10:15 this Sunday. As I've been mentioning all week, this Sunday we will light the Advent candle of joy. It's Gaudete Sunday. Often the pink candle that we will light is known as the shepherd's candle. And we're going to hear from John the Baptist again, more from John the Baptist. This time we're going to hear John the Baptist giving those who would hear all kinds of grief about how they're living their lives or not living their lives, as the case may be. And in the midst of it, it might be difficult to find joy, except it's really not. What John calls us to, if we live rightly, if we live the way that God calls us to, God really does, through John the Baptist, in this preaching, in this word, call us to joy. And I'm going to try to connect the dots. I don't always have success in that, I know, but I'm going to try to connect the dots for us as we worship on Sunday. So plan to join us, plan to be with us. If you can't be with us in person, be sure to join us here on Facebook Live at 10:15. Also, reminder that we're collecting hats and mittens for our hat and mitten tree. We're also finishing up our Advent boxes. So if you haven't got your Advent box filled yet, hope you'll do that. Those things need to be back to church by next Sunday, the 19th, and we'll begin to give those out and distribute those to those who are in need. So all of that is our commercial for this morning. So the Psalm 126, verses 1 through 2, is our focus this morning. It's where I've landed this morning. I'm to think about what it is that Advent means for us in these weeks preceding Christmas, and how it is that in the midst of these days, God is restoring us, restoring our fortunes. Diane and I have some lights. We haven't lived in this house, of course, very long, and we have some lights we want to put up outside, and we haven't gotten it done yet, part because I just can't, and partly because of the weather, but we're going to hope today. Diane's off early today. We're going to hope today that we can get those lights up outside, and so she'll hold the ladder as I'm up on the ladder. Hopefully we can make this happen in spite of my physical limitations. So hear these words. When the Lord changed Zion's circumstances for the better, it was like we had been dreaming. Our mouths were suddenly filled with laughter. Our tongues were filled with joyful shouts. It was even said at that time among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. So during these weeks, leading up to Christmas, all these weeks of Advent, one of the things that we do, we talk about it in church, and we do it in our homes, and hopefully Diane and I will get something accomplished today. We restore color and beauty to our homes and our churches and our sanctuaries, to courthouses, all kinds of places. We restore color and beauty. We cast light into darkened corners, and we restore our spirits with songs, and we share in the gift of living in each other's lives, and we give gifts, and we pass food along. We'll eventually hold candles on Christmas Eve. We gather these weeks of Advent because what we're hoping for God to do for us, again, as God did for Zion, is to change our circumstances, to brighten dark corners, to help us be ready, to prepare for this growing awareness that something new is about to happen in our midst, that something new is going to change the world and make it a better place. Something new is going to bubble up, if you will, from underneath all of this struggle that we live in. And know that when it comes with the new promises of grace and goodness in our lives. It's interesting as the psalmist gives us these words. When the Lord changed Zion's circumstances for the better, it's like we had been dreaming. Our mouths were suddenly filled with laughter. Our tongues were filled with joyful shouts. Isn't it interesting that this God that the psalmist knew, and this God that we anticipate is going to make changes in our world and change our world for a better place, this God who promises us grace and goodness, this God is always at work restoring lives, restoring relationships, restoring where broken places are, and then asking us then to participate in that restoration of what God's doing in our lives. You know, there used to be, especially for me, even lots of debate about when do you sing Christmas carols and Christmas hymns. And I used to be, not that long ago, a stickler. You know, you don't sing Christmas carols until Christmas, and then you don't sing them at all. And I've changed. You'll know these weeks in worship, we've been singing Christmas carols. We've been mixing them in with Advent hymns. It's a reminder to me, as I've thought about it differently, and as I've grown and developed my sense of who God is for us, that it's incumbent on us, you know, to be aware of this restoration that's taking place in our lives. And that we are trying to find a way to restore color and beauty to the world around us, to restore it in our own spirits with song and mirth. And so I think for us, it's incumbent on us to take note around us and in our own lives of the hopes and dreams that we have. Perhaps what we need to do is consider the broken places that need to be mended, the lackluster places that need to be brightened, the rough edges of life that need to be made smooth. That's God's work. That's God's business. That's God's restoration that happens in us and through us and in all of our lives. And I know that to be true for you and for me, that we need restoration in our lives. This psalm jumped out at me because of the reaction of the people, of the psalmist, when God changed Zion's circumstances. They were changed so drastically, the psalmist says, that it's like they had been dreaming. And they were filled with laughter and joyful shouts. And there was this acknowledgement that the Lord has done great things for them. I believe, friends, that the psalmist who tapped into this God and the God who restored them is the very God in the midst of our lives. And God wants to do new things for you and me. God wants to restore us in our lives. We have to be aware. We have to be ready. We have to be ready for the grace and goodness. And we have to be ready and accept the fact that God is always working at restoring in and through us. And I hope that in all of this season of Advent that we've heard bits and pieces of that in our daily word and conversations I've had with people and in worship. You know, that this God who gives us these candles to light and that we have the audacity to know that one candle, two candles, three candles can dispel darkness to the darkest corners of God's creation, and to know that God continues to do great things for us. I pray that you'll see God's restoration in your life, see God moving and shaping in your life, and that God will continue to move in you and in me as we journey through this Advent season together. Today, as we gather for our time together. I want to look it up to make sure. But today is daily word number 410. 410. And I said the other night at our Advent Wednesday night, who would have guessed that I had enough things to say for 410 days, plus Sunday morning, plus whatever else. And everybody around the table said, we knew you had plenty to say for 410 or 810 or whatever the number is. But what I said in all of our days together, I've been reminded that even though for all of my life, this is all I've known, I also know that I don't know it all. I don't know. I actually know very little, right? And these words every single day through day 410, they've challenged me. They called me to look deeper inside myself. They've asked me to be aware of God's presence and to know that in my life, in our lives, in our church, in our community, in our relationships, in our families, God is doing great things among us. We just have to be aware. So I pray this is a good word as we end our week together. Know of God's love. Know of God's love that's just abundant in all of our lives. Know of my love for all of you. I'm looking forward to seeing you Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, or actually 10:15, Sunday morning at 10:15, and then Monday morning again here at 10 o'clock. Have a great day and a great weekend, my friends.